Hey family, welcome to Love Samantha Lee, the More Than Just Pretty podcast. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite platform, I'm so glad you're here. We keep it real about love, faith, and life. Are you ready? Let's get into it. What's up, family? As you can see, you can now see me do this podcast right here on YouTube. You can still stream. You still stream it audio wise on the platforms that it was before. I believe it was like Apple, Amazon. I can't name all of them, but you can stream it on other websites if you're not able to really watch me on YouTube. But I wanted to give you guys a different lens. And honestly, this was not what I wanted to do because I think on so many different platforms, you see me and I was like, let me do something where I'm not being seen. But in this time where God has really been dealing with me about different things that I'm doing, one of the main things he gave me this last week was start a channel for More Than Just Pretty. And yeah, go ahead and go live and do a video there. So I'm being obedient and here I am. Okay. And y'all, again, this is about me being completely transparent about my journey. There's a lot of people that go onto this YouTube space. They have a pre-recorded skit. They have understandings of what they're going to say, how they're going to say it. They're going to be all polished. They're going to look like this. They're going to look like that. I am combating that. I'm going against that. Why is that? Because I feel like there's too many filters. There's too much fluff. There's too much that we're seeing that isn't real. And I want to bring real back. I feel like this culture of not being real is making people that their realities do not match up with what people's highlight reel is or what they look like or whatever. They're like, oh goodness, there's something wrong with me. No, there's not. We're just not being real. It creates a culture of shame where people don't feel like they can be real because if they are being real, then somebody's saying something about it to them or making fun of them or making them feel less than because the highlight reel and their reality don't match up. And so that's what this is. More Than Just Pretty podcast. I birthed it, if you guys don't know, and you're just watching this on YouTube, was birthed out of really where I felt like God was leading me to do something that was more like a diary, honestly. I want to kind of break the cultural, we say a lot of women and they put a lot of energy into being pretty. We risk our lives to be pretty. Let's be real. Okay. And I think that we need to put that same energy into character, put that same energy into your spirituality, put that same energy into making something of yourself outside of looking good. I think that we are to be helpmates, to be assets, to be Proverbs 31 women. We have to be way more than just pretty. So the More Than Just Pretty podcast was birthed from that movement that I'm trying to start where I want every woman to be more than just pretty. Okay. So if you guys have not been following the podcast, I have been describing a wilderness season that I've been going through in my life. And a wilderness season is where God gives somebody a promise. And then a wilderness season is where he prepares you for the promise. And in this, you are being, it feels like breaking. It really does. It feels like breaking, but God is building. And y'all, there's been a lot of transitions in this time where, first couple weeks, y'all, I cried every single day. I felt very isolated. I felt like I really couldn't talk to anybody about anything. And I just felt like it was just me and God kind of battling it out. Reason being was that there was some wounds that were speaking, wounds that I didn't even realize I had that were causing me to question God, question his method. Like, why are we doing it this way? Why are we doing it that way? God, I don't want to do it this way. Raise up another one, God. Lord, and listen, Sam is dramatic. Okay. So I'm over here like, God, please, I don't want to do this. I don't like this. Why can't you just give me the promise? Like, why? Like, I don't even see it happening, God. You're telling me this and this and this, and I don't even see it. Like, I see nothing. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like if I'm being deceived, because y'all, over time, let's be real, I have learned. Your girl has learned that my heart is deceitful above all things. It is sick and desperately wicked. Who can understand it? Like, I know that I can deceive me. All right. Some people, they believe what, they are 100% on point all the time. That is not me. I default to, am I wrong? Let me go figure out if I'm right. Like, let me go talk to somebody, Google something to make sure that I'm in the right frame of mind or I'm thinking about this correctly. So, and that's got me into a lot of trouble, but we'll talk about that later. So anyway, I just was questioning God because of my history, because of the past, because of the traumas that I've experienced in my life, I question myself a lot. And I really rely on other people to let me know if I'm on the right path or not. I want to see the facts of the situation before I make a decision. So I've literally been taught in therapy to look at all the facts and then make a decision. Which, y'all, that's not wrong, right? That's worldly wisdom. Spiritual wisdom is, even if I don't see it, I do it anyway. Even if God is telling me something that just seems absolutely impossible right now, I still believe. And I keep on believing. And I keep on being consistent and trusting him, even when it looks like nothing's happening. We see that with Noah in the ark, where he was told to build an ark because of this flood that was coming. And what happened with the flood coming, right? He built that ark for 75 years. It didn't rain for another 30 plus years. So he had built an ark and then had waited for another 30 years for this flood to come. We see that with Abraham. Abram, who started off as Abram, was promised a son. He'd be the father of many nations. He didn't have his first, we're going to call it legitimate. I'm not, no hate on Ishmael, but legitimate child until he was in his 90s. Okay, we see David. David was in process from being a shepherd boy to a king for 22 years. Joseph, who had a dream of being second in command and his brothers would eventually be bowing down to him. That didn't happen he was in process for 12 years. And that actually didn't happen for 7 years after that. So he didn't see the dream fulfilled for 19 years. We see that even in Jesus's life. He didn't experience what it was promised or what he was supposed to do until the 33rd year, right? It was 3 years of ministry, and then he fulfilled his purpose here on this planet. We all have to go through process. And so the wilderness, in the beginning, y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you, it feels like breaking. It's breaking of all really worldly ways of thinking about things. Like, God's process is so different than worldly processes. Like, worldly process is, if I don't see it right now, if it doesn't feel good right now, that means I need to just give up and move on. No, God's process is, it's not going to feel like it's going to happen. It doesn't feel good right now. I don't know when it's going to feel good, but I'm going to keep being obedient anyway. I'm going to be faithful to the promise. And that's how he teaches how to be long suffering and to be patient and to have the type of persevering faith that James talks about. And I think it's chapter 1. He talks about we should rejoice in trials and tribulations, for it's producing in us a persevering faith that perfects us, right? And because with God, his currency, the currency of the heavenly kingdom, is faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. And that faith is manifested through actions. And so I find, like, a lot of people, even myself, where I said I had a lot of faith, to be honest with y'all, in this process, I realized I really had that much faith. I just didn't. I mean, I had faith for certain things as I saw God being faithful in certain areas of my life. I had faith for that. I had faith for this. I had faith, just the things that I had seen, but the things that I hadn't seen or I had been hurt in or traumatized in or experienced a lot of pain in, it's very, very hard for me to believe God for those things because I've been disappointed. And y'all, years ago, I did a like a live. I was doing a thing called Miracle Mondays. And on this Miracle Mondays, I just said, it's hard for me to hope. It's hard for me to hope. It's hard for me to have faith. Hard. because I've been so disappointed. I've experienced moments where I hope, 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 and then disappointed. Hope, 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 disappointed. And now, God, I'm starting to dream again, because really that's where it starts, y'all. It starts from you deciding that you're going to dream again. And I would honestly say for the last couple years, I haven't dreamed because I was afraid of being disappointed. I was preparing myself for the worst and hoping or spending more time really marinating on the worst that could happen versus really believing for the best. And so this year was one of those times where I thought it was random, but I've learned in this journey, nothing is random, that I started having the desire to dream again. And once I opened up that that can of worms, God started moving. God, oh, you're dreaming again. You have faith for things again. Okay. And with that came a process. It came a process called the wilderness. And this wilderness process, y'all, like I said, the beginning was very hard. I felt like he was isolating me. I didn't feel like people really understood me. So I really wasn't as open with people. And I also felt like people were just kind of falling away. Like people that might have started the journey or, you know, helped me get on the path fell away. And now it's just me and God. And if I try to talk to people about it, there's sometimes they understand me when he feels like, maybe I need that reassurance. But as I've gone further and further in this journey, more and more people have fallen away. And I've learned how to depend on God, which brings us back to the whole point of the wilderness, family. Whole point of the wilderness was for the Israelites to learn how to depend on God for everything. And so in this, y'all, I have learned that there's parts of there's parts of who I am, like the wounds that I've carried, the things from childhood that I didn't even know existed. Like I didn't realize how much pain had shaped my personality. I didn't realize like my fear of vulnerability. I'm somebody that loves hard, loyal to a fault. I've yeah, I got a big heart. My family, my mom's like, I don't know why you're like this, but I'm one of those people. I love. And I think with pain and disappointment, I've put walls up. I've guarded myself, and I was willing to be somewhat vulnerable, but there was a level of vulnerability no one was going to get from me. And it also caused me to be very rigid and inflexible, very strict. Like anything that went out of the plan or went out of what I thought should happen, I like abandoned it. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to do this. As soon as what I was hoping for kind of looked like it wasn't going to happen, I wanted to give up every single time. Every single time. But there was something inside me in this part of the journey that made me realize like I can't give up. Like I can't there was a part of me that wouldn't let me give up. Wouldn't let me stop speaking in faith. Wouldn't let me continue to not believe. Because the reality is, family, I've been through a wilderness season before. I didn't realize it, but I had. I have stepped it. I have stepped it. I wasn't fully obedient. And I got in the way of God doing what he wanted to do in my life at that time. God revealed it to me during this journey. Like, you've been through this before. Think back. What did you do? And I thought about it. And I remembered that season of my life where I wasn't fully obedient. And I did what God told me to do, but I had an outcome in mind and a way that outcome would happen. And as soon as the outcome didn't look like it was going to happen, y'all, I gave up. I ain't gonna lie to you. As soon as what I was hoping for didn't happen at the time I thought it would happen or the way that I wanted it to happen, I gave up. I was like, forget this. I'm not doing this. And I realized that my obedience was contingent upon an outcome, not contingent upon God being good or God's plan or anything like that. And that's how he tests us. That's how he tests all of us, is that we have a dream, and what will happen if it's a God dream, it is going to look like it's not going to happen before it does. It is going to look like nothing is happening, that you're just you're making all these sacrifices, and you're like, I don't really understand this. And y'all, for anybody that's in a wilderness season, can I break something down for y'all? Break something down that I'm learning. In every test I've experienced, there's something new that I didn't even realize I was struggling with, that I'm struggling with. Something else pops up. And I'm like, oh, I was struggling with that. I didn't even know I was struggling with that. Something else pops up. And y'all, just like this last weekend, I'm not going to speak on the specifics. I'm going to wait a little bit later. I just don't feel like God has released me to speak on this yet. But I'm going to speak on this journey that he just revealed to me. But it's just like new little things that I'm dealing with. Like, I didn't know I thought I was patient. I'm not. I thought I was like, I'm a heavy stepper in faith. I'm not. I thought there was just so many different things that God was just revealing to me, and he's continuing to reveal to me. Like he asked me to take a step of obedience, and then he explains it. Step of obedience, and then something is going to come up. Something is going to happen to where I now understand why he asked me to make that step. But he first asked me to do a step, a step, a step. And how did he do that? Influencing my decision making. There are people that ask me all the time, Sam, how do you know that God is speaking to you? Because a lot of times when God speaks to me, he uses a verse. And listen, y'all, let's be clear. Sam is not no theologian. Okay, Sam is not a theologian. I've just read the Bible twice. And I would hope that in the future, I would read that, like with my spouse, my future spouse, I would read the Bible with them as well. Because the way that God speaks a lot of times is through verses, is through his word, or he'll bring up a story, or he'll bring up like a part of a verse and I'll look up the whole verse, or a part of a song and I'll look up the whole. Like, that's how I know it's God, because he's utilizing his word to tell me what to do or how to maneuver in situations. And if I hadn't read the Bible twice, or I hate to say subject myself, that sounds really crazy, but if I hadn't went to Bible U through Change Church or did Daniel's Den, I wouldn't have learned, okay, that's coming up in my, okay, I know what that means. I know what God is telling me. And so a lot of times I will wake up to verses in my head, or I'll be saying a verse in my head over and over again while I'm sleeping. I wake up, I look it up, and I understand what he's meaning or intending by the statement. It always resonates. God's word, if he's saying something to you, is going to resonate with you. It's not going to be new information. It is going to be something that resonates. Even if it's something you don't want to hear, you know. You're like, yeah, I know. When it's not God's word, when it's somebody's doing a prophetic word, and then you're like, nah, that ain't it. That don't resonate at all. Now, you can have a hard heart, or it's not your word. Because people sometimes, they can mistake their feelings for God's feelings, or God prompting them. And you just have to know, because I've been deceived in this way. I've talked about this before, how I accidentally joined a cult. Before that, it was another situation with a guy from a more charismatic faith than I was accustomed to. And it was the first time I had ever been introduced to the gift of prophecy, or somebody having a prophetic gifting. And I was mesmerized by this gifting. I had never seen anything like this before, where somebody could tell me where I came from, what I've been through, what I was going to do, what was going to happen. Like, I had never experienced that gifting. And it made me put up the person, or prop up the person. And no person is propped up in the kingdom. People have gifts. And that's that. The only being that deserves to be on a pedestal is God. And what I did, the mistake I made, was I put a human being on a pedestal. And what happened was, that person felt like, once I got into the faith, because I did get into the faith, it was a period of time, but I got back into my faith and chose Christianity for myself this time. And they thought that that was a sign that, okay, now she's safe to be my wife. And y'all, that did not resonate with your girl. I physically rejected it. Um, my, it turned into kind of a mess. But anyway, I then found another pastor who then made me feel, better about not wanting to marry this person, which in the reality, in the grand scheme of things, family, if someone tells you you're my wife or I'm your husband or any of those types of things, and it does not resonate with you, you're like, no, that's not your husband or that's not your wife. When God gives you a prompting, he's gonna there will be some type of confirmation within your spirit if God has revealed it to you, right? That never resonated. It still hasn't resonated. I just think it was his desire that he was confusing with, God. But anyway, I then, because, now I found another pastor, somebody else introduced me to this other pastor, and he happened to be the leader of a cult. I get involved with the pastoral leadership because he kind of tells me, hey, that wasn't God. Da, da, da. He reassures me, and he does some prophetic. He has a prophetic gifting as well. I fall into that ministry. I'm in that ministry for probably months to a year. I don't remember how long exactly. I went there every weekend. I was a housekeeper at the time. I was giving them all my money. I was driving 2 hours to church. I was there all day on Sundays. I was confessing my sins to this man. I was talking, like, finding answers to day-to-day questions. What is God telling him? Did God tell you I did good today? Did God tell you I was okay today? Did God? Like, I was on that level of accountability with this man. And I did not develop a relationship with God. And that was the same situation. It was basically the same pattern of behavior I had with the guy before. This person kind of leads down the same road. So we're not going to get into that, but leads down the same road, and the pedestal is knocked off, right? Go through, and I realized I was in a cult, realized I was deceived before. And so I'm like, okay, forget this whole God thing, right? And so I for a couple years, I go on my own. I don't believe, not that I don't believe in God. I do believe that, there's a higher being and things like that. But I've been so hurt by people of the church. I just kind of pushed myself away from that and live my life. And let's be real, family, when we're living our own life, it's not fun either, right? It's not fulfilling chasing the things of this world. It Yes, okay, you go back to the clubs, you go back to the lounges, but if we being real, the party seems so much better in your head. Or dating seems so much better in your head. Or the job seems so much more delightful in your head. Like, all these positions, they mean nothing really if it's not done in proper order or it's not done with God. It just isn't. And so I wasn't fulfilled. Yes, I was doing what my flesh wanted me to do, and I was, living, in relationship. Well, I was in a relationship. I was, living my life the way I wanted to live. But was I really living a fulfilled life? No, I wasn't. And so, y'all, to be honest with you, if we're being completely real, um, at that point in time, I realized that, I felt like God was calling me back to the faith. And so I end up going back to I end up going to go get my hair done one day, right? And I already felt like, when I was looking at sunsets, where I felt like God was prompting me to speak to him. And so I was like, okay, maybe God's speaking to me, but I don't know. Like, I was still rejecting it. I was still very much rejecting the voice, and I didn't know the voice. I didn't know the voice of God. I didn't know how it sounded to me. And I went into this Dominican hair salon, and I don't speak no Spanish. My mama does. So I had her I called her to speak to the lady about getting my hair done. Well, she tells her, and so everybody in the salon, like I said, speaks Spanish. I don't. So I'm sitting in the chair, and the woman that's next to me, later find out she's a pastor, she speaks to me in perfect English. Mind you, she does not speak English. So she speaks to me in perfect English and tells me that God is trying to talk to you. It's time. Stop running. I'm like, what? Whoa, hold on. Okay. All right. So this God thing is real. Okay. So I like tear up. That hits me. That resonates with me because I know this woman don't speak no English. Because after that, we couldn't have no type of conversation. I wanted to know what he said, how he said it. She couldn't tell me nothing because that the only thing she could say to me was what God told her. And we see that in the Bible that he changed people's speech or allowed them to speak other languages in order for them to speak to those people. So it was not like now that I understand the Bible and understand the stories, like that was God, right? So get that gets me back into the faith, right? Like, so I start talking to God again, but now God wants me to get to know him for myself. And that's where I want to land right here, you guys. Like, when we depend so much on people and we depend on people that we see that are great orders of the word of God to be our conduit to reaching God, it actually puts us at a deficit because we are easily deceived. And in this season of wilderness, God has made it very clear to me that he speaks to me. And that a lot of the different things that made it hard for me to hear him were the wounds, my heart being broken. Y'all, the very area you've been hurt the most in, God wants to bless you the most in. So if you've been hurt in the area of relationships the most, that's the area the enemy wants you to give up in. The enemy wants you to just go in a different direction. If you've been hurt in a specific area for your dream or whatever your dream career, that's probably the area the enemy wants to use. The enemy's trying to stop you from being able to move in. And it may not look the way you thought it would. You know, you might have been wanting a relationship to work, and maybe that relationship didn't work. And so now you're like, I'm done with all relationships because that didn't work. Maybe it wasn't that what, the relationships are all bad. It was just that particular relationship God wasn't going to allow because that was going to actually be less than what he has for you. Y'all, nothing that God takes away from us is inferior to what he has for us. He always has more. And so in this walk, y'all, he's shown me visions and signs. And I'm like, I'm humbled, y'all, because I understand that this journey is not about me getting to a destination. This journey is not about a specific outcome. This journey is about me getting closer to him. This journey is about when we lose sight because it's like, oh, I want this and I want it now. So if it doesn't happen in the moment that I want it to happen, then I give up. And y'all, that's really manipulation. You're like, okay, my belief in my doing what you want me to do is to get what I want from you. And y'all, we don't even want relationships like that. We don't even want to be with people that are with us for a specific agenda. Why would we do our God like that? I hear people all the time, I don't want to be with him because he only want me for this. I don't want to be with her because she only want me for that. Okay, but that's how you treat God. God wants you to partner with him. And y'all, I had to confess this. I am not better than this. I'm learning this in this season. That a lot of times I gave up because I wanted a certain thing. And I was like, okay, I'm a tap dance, but I want this outcome. And God's like, that's not how I work. I want you to want this. And in this process of a wilderness, I want you to see that you can trust me. That whatever I'm doing is for your benefit, is for your good. And y'all, I'm here as a testimony to that. That he's telling me a lot of different things, and I'm excited for when those moments happen so I can share them with you. But he's preparing me. He's healing me. He's revealing me to me, things that I didn't even know I struggled with. And so for everybody that's in a season where God is showing you something, that he's promising you something, trust him. Allow him to put you through the process. For real this time. Don't just give up because it doesn't look the way you thought it would look or how you thought it should look. Trust him because everything he calls you to do, he has a plan for. All of it is working for your good. And he's not a man that he should lie, nor is he the son of man that he should change his mind. That the Israelites got to the promised land. They did. There were just obstacles there that scared them, and it made them want to go in a different direction. They forgot that God had said, and they didn't have enough faith because really it was unbelief that got them out of the promise. That's why the enemy infuses us with doubt and insecurity and unbelief and discouragement, because if the enemy can get us out of faith, he can get us out of promise. And so for some of you guys watching me today, it's hard to have faith. You don't see it. It's hard to believe for that. You've basically shut your heart down to even try to believe for something like that. But God is putting a desire in your heart again, a desire you can't deny. And he's not letting you give up this time. Thank him for that. Because there's parts of you that in this journey, family, you will be truly healed. Things that you didn't even know you were sick from, things that you didn't even know you could be healed from. Remember, our God is not above healing internal and external. And for me, y'all, he's doing both. Join me, family. Join me on this journey. If God is giving you a promise and you're now in a wilderness, join me in this. All right? Trust the process. Stop trying to swim against the current. Let go of the time frame. Let go of what the outcomes should be or what you want it to look like. Trust him. Trust him. Because he's preparing you for it. You did it your way the first time and look at the results. Now try it his way, where he prepares you perfectly for what you've been praying for. Remember, God ignores the prayers of our mouth to answer the prayers of our heart. We might have told ourselves that we didn't want to do this, or we're done with that, or we've tried to put this wall up, but deep down inside, God knows, and you know what you want and what you desire. God gives you the desires of your heart, and he gives you the desires of your heart. You've been seeking him, you've been spending time with him. Those desires are there for a purpose. Don't ignore them. Don't allow pain and trauma to talk you out of them. They're for you, but you just have to allow the process. Join me, y'all. I'm going to be talking about my process. We can be doing this together. Comment below if you feel like you're in a wilderness season. Let's be each other's accountability. Let's really walk this thing out. Again, you guys, I promise you guys accountability. I promise you guys just being me unapologetically every week. All right. And that's a wrap. If this episode spoke to you, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube or leave a review wherever you're listening. Let's keep the convo going. Connect with me on all socials. Remember, real beauty starts with you being true to yourself. I love you, family, and I'll see you soon.